You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, prosecutors in Mcdonald County charge a woman with murdering her husband.
Get ready for the Thanksgiving weekend. We start with sunny skies, but eventually Future Track feeds us rain, and it comes just in time for the holiday. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, NASA is set to launch a new telescope that may answer the question of whether or not we're alone in the universe. All that and more coming up. Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Buck. Prosecutors charge a Mcdonald County woman with murdering her husband. Investigators say Don Wynn is charged with second-degree murder and armed criminal action. They say on Tuesday, deputies responded to a home on Pleasant Grove Road west of Anderson. When they arrived, they found Wynn's husband, Harold Lee Wynn, dead from a gunshot wound to the head. Authorities arrested Wynn at the scene. A jury returns a guilty verdict for a Cherokee County man accused of attempted first-degree murder. 38-year-old Brian Waterman is now awaiting sentencing on that charge and additional charges of aggravated kidnapping and aggravated burglary. It took the jury less than 2 hours to return the guilty verdicts. The charges stem from a 2016 incident in which Waterman broke into a Baxter Springs home, stabbed a man, and doused him with bleach. Friends, family, and fellow first responders from across the area came together on Sunday to pay final respects to Baxter Springs firefighter Lieutenant Malachi Brown. Lieutenant Brown passed away November 10th from injuries he sustained while working a house fire on October 15th. Full firefighter line of duty death honors were presented. Community members lined the procession route and placed flags along the side of the road. Brown leaves behind a wife and 3 children. He was 32 years old. One man is dead and another seriously injured following a crash just south of Joplin. The crash happened just after 2 Sunday morning on Highway NN, 3 miles south of Joplin. According to the Missouri Highway Patrol, 25-year-old Carter Hickman of Neosho was driving on Highway NN when he was unable to make it around a curve. Hickman's car left the roadway and then struck a culvert and caught fire. Hickman and his passenger, 24-year-old Andrew Jacobs of St. Cloud, Florida, were taken by ambulance to local hospitals. Hickman was taken to the burn unit at Mercy in Springfield, where he later died from his injuries. Jacobs suffered serious injuries in the crash. The Joplin Empire Market kicked off its 4th annual holiday market. The market included special holiday festivities like photos with Santa and other holiday-themed vendors. In addition to Santa being in attendance, the market will also be hosting special holiday programs for kids and local charities from now until Christmas. Empire Market says ultimately it's their way of giving back during this holiday season.
We have more jewelry, we have handmade leather goods, we have a local children's book author, we have our alpaca products back just for the holiday season. So it's really a way to come in and show your support for the small businesses that help make up our community.
The holiday market will continue every Saturday until Christmas and will also have a special event on Christmas Eve. 4-month-old kitten Midas was born with 2 sets of ears and a defective jaw due to a recessive genetic mutation. But this does not stop her to becoming an internet star. She's now got over 73,000 followers. Midas was adopted by Canis Dosameci in the Turkish capital Ankara after being born in a friend's backyard with 6 other siblings. Dosameci said she and her husband fell in love with her at first sight, decided to take her in, believing her chances of adoption are lower than her siblings due to her unique condition. Now, according to her vet, the additional ears do not affect her health or hearing in general. What makes her special from other cats with similar genetic abnormalities is that all 4 of the ear laps are connected to the ear canal. Midas is currently living with 2 golden retrievers, Susie and Zeno.
Clearly interested by the play mouse as well. Do we know how she got its name? Her name?
I don't know.
I just find it interesting that her name is Midas and she lives with 2 golden retrievers. I didn't know if that had anything to do with it. Didn't know if we had any background on that. Our daily almanac for today, average high would be about 56 degrees, and we are going to be smack dab right on it. that's about where we'll top out. So it'll be nice to have some seasonable weather here for a while. And what a gorgeous start we have as we say hello to the glow cloud coming over Television City. Our temperatures right now, we've gotten as low as 26 in Neodesha, and there was a while where we actually had some 36 out here. Now we've dropped down to Neosho, Anderson, and Miami, all down right at the freezing point. Throw Cassville in there as well. So that's actually been a 4-degree drop in those communities. It's actually pre-sunrise, and we'll see how quickly it rebounds up. Nice thing is we don't have any wind to fight with, but still, if you were out and about at this point in time yesterday, it's going to feel about 20 degrees colder than where we were Sunday morning at 7:05. That's reflectivity. That's not precipitation. Cloud cover beginning to break, especially right on the state line right there. That's something else. And so that's why we're going to get early sunshine. And if you trace the Mississippi and go to the west, there's hardly anything behind that. All the rain really just kind of pushes off all the way to the east coast. So the nice thing for us is we're going to have sunshine here for a couple of days. No travel concerns. If you're headed to Grandma's house here for the holiday, whether it be today, tomorrow, or really most of Wednesday. Highs today, like I said, are right where we should be, up into the mid-50s. Now, Tuesday is going to be delightful as well, and actually just a little bit warmer, maybe a degree or two. Wednesday brings us cloud cover, but also puts us up into the 60s. Now we get ready for Wednesday, late afternoon, early evening. Light rain begins to develop, very, very light at first. The majority of the hardest rain really isn't going to hit until early Thursday morning. Get your travel done. By then, you're locked in, or maybe you're waiting to leave specifically on Thanksgiving. And while we hear some overnight rumbles of thunder, really shouldn't affect travel at all because afternoon, it's all said and done. It's going to be too warm for that to flip over like that. 7-day forecast shows us too that maybe you're going somewhere this weekend. Not a worry in the world. Yeah, you're going to need a coat if you're out after or before sunrise or sunset. But other than that, daytime highs, mid-50s, and a whole bunch of sunshine into the weekend.
All right. Well, up next, COVID cases surge once again. Beds fill back up just as millions prepare to travel for the holidays. And later, the Miami Public Library celebrates its 100th birthday. And the community came out to join the fun. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's happening again. For the third time, hospitals are full and healthcare providers on the brink of exhaustion. Doctors are worried this COVID surge of the unvaccinated could get worse as the holidays approach. Russell Haythorne has the story.
We knew this moment was near.
Mobile stroke arrival to room 1313 now.
There are lots and lots of patients.
Now it's here.
It's busy. We're full.
In the emergency department at UC Health Anschutz, they are now 100% capacity. The vast majority of those beds being used by unvaccinated COVID patients.
If I had 10 things to do to ease this pandemic, 9 of them would be get vaccinated.
Adding to the urgency of the situation, Chief Innovation Officer Dr. Richard Zane says they are also seeing a surge in other illnesses.
And it's probably a combination of patients not having had health care for 2 years. So every heart attack is a sicker heart attack. Every stroke is a sicker stroke.
We have had a system.
On a Zoom town hall meeting today, hospitals in northern Colorado sounding a similar alarm. They are now 92% capacity.
The number one treatment, as both Kevin and Margot have stated, is vaccination.
Adding insult to injury, staffing shortages. So next week, FEMA will deploy a team of 20 nurses and care providers from the Department of Defense to Fort Collins to help hospital staff with critical staffing shortages. This chart shows the latest surge in COVID hospitalizations across UC Health's 12 hospitals. And with Thanksgiving 1 week away, gatherings could push the surge even higher.
This really is a surge of the unvaccinated that has filled our hospitals and put us really skirting the treetops of capacity.
Well, after being closed for 17 years due to structural issues, the Smithsonian Arts and Industries building finally reopened this weekend. America's first official national museum had been a mostly shuttered 258,000 square foot void while repairs were made, and it is reopening with an appropriately named exhibition called Futures, which is meant to envision the world of tomorrow. Visitors who saw a preview say the interior is stunning, with the natural light supplied by 900 windows and a 108-foot high rotunda. Futures exhibition runs through July 6th, and admission is free.
Love the fact that they're doing that for free. The Smithsonian and everything that they have in a number of their museums and buildings. The fact that we're able to go in there as everyday people and just check out the amazing works, pretty darn cool.
Very neat.
Live look outside of Television City. The glow cloud creeps above the horizon, and there we are with the stores beginning to be illuminated, and it's going to be jumping here in a couple days in Joplin. It is cool, 31 degrees, anywhere from 27 in Chanute, 30 in Monette, 32 in Miami, only 28 in Pittsburgh. Could be a whole lot worse though, because if this wind was anywhere from 15 to 20 miles per hour, we'd be feeling it as far as the wind chill goes. But really not a whole lot of difference. You'll see 4 to 5 degree drop between the temperature and what it feels like right now, as we yet to see anybody actually creep up to 30 on the wind chill. Remember, like what we talked about, that's the reflectivity off each of our sweeping radars, so don't worry about any precipitation. Interesting fine line that we're seeing develop as far as our clear skies goes. It rides the state line right now, a little heavier on both sides of that divide as the jet stream grabs the cold Canadian air, goes just north of the border, and then sweeps all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So everything that's grabbing up here for us is dry, but then as it gets down here, it picks up that Gulf moisture, begins that line of rain activity that goes from the Gulf to the mid-Atlantic and stretches all the way up to the northeastern portion, pretty much on the other side of the Canadian border. But if you get on this side of the Mississippi, it's nothing but a whole bunch of H's, and that will bring us sunshine for not only today and tomorrow as well. If you are on the road here in the next several days, you are absolutely in luck, because mid-50s today, no wind to tackle. That's going to change tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a tad bit blustery, as it'll actually switch and come in from the south, so that'll feed us some warmer temperatures, but we'll be 15 to 20 miles per hour by the time we get into Tuesday afternoon. So that's going to give us a nice little warm up though, especially for Wednesday. Wednesday will make it up into the 60s, and once again, no travel concerns till we get into Wednesday evening. And this shouldn't be concerning. This just starts as light rain and whatnot. The hard rain really won't be from Tuesday night into early Thursday morning. I know the majority of you won't be traveling then. If you are, know that you're going to hear some rumbles of thunder and maybe even see a lightning bolt or two if you're traveling super early Wednesday morning. And then for the most part, we're done by Thursday afternoon. I don't think that's even going to be able to flip over. And we'll keep an eye on that as we progress closer to Thursday. It'd be easy to go, oh, that's that low pressure that's going to head our way for the holiday. But actually, no, it's not. It's going to originate down here out of Texas with some Gulf moisture that'll move its way up through us and then proceed to the east all the way to the time we get to Thanksgiving night. And so what that will do for those of you that want to take in a little shopping headed into the weekend, or maybe you're traveling on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, you have no concerns whatsoever. Chilly overnights, but daytime highs right on par for where we would be for the latter third of November. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. NASA astronaut Jessica Watkins is set to become the first black woman on the International Space Station crew. Watkins expected to launch into space in April on the SpaceX Crew 4 mission. Crew is going to spend 6 months on the ISS Microgravity Laboratory, where it conducts scientific research. Watkins has been preparing for her first space mission since being selected as an astronaut candidate back in 2017. She earned her bachelor's degree in geological and environmental sciences at Stanford, then went on to earn a doctorate in geology from UCLA. In news that is truly out of this world, NASA's about to launch a new telescope in search for life on other planets. This thing's massive. Its capabilities make the Hubble telescope look like a child's toy. Kirsten Fisher has a look at the historic mission.
The Hubble Space Telescope has been beaming back images, transforming our understanding of the universe for more than 30 years. Now, its successor, a telescope 100 times more powerful, is just weeks away from launch. The James Webb Space Telescope is designed to answer humanity's most existential questions. Are we alone in the universe? And where did that first light in the cosmos come from?
I think its greatest discoveries are going to be answers to questions that we have yet to ask or imagine.
Webb's deputy project manager, Paul Geithner, was hired by NASA 30 years ago to help fix Hubble.
It was the mechanical version of eye surgery. Endeavour's 11-day fix-it mission in space was to install corrective mirrors so the nearsighted and nearly $2 billion Hubble Space Telescope can do what it's supposed to do, see.
But once in space, Webb can't be repaired by astronauts. It will be too far away, orbiting the sun at a distance 4 times further away from Earth than the moon. The telescope is also so big, about the size of a tennis court, that it can't fit on top of a rocket fully intact.
We had to design it so it could be folded up and then unfold in space. So it's the origami observatory.
With more than 300 single points of failure, and each one could prove to be fatal to the mission's success.
We wouldn't have built a telescope this big unless we needed to, and you need to build a telescope this big if you want to look at the very dimmest, most earliest galaxies in the universe.
Webb will be launching on a European rocket from French Guiana, a nod to the telescope's international partners, Europe and Canada. But just getting to this launch pad has cost nearly $9 billion more than initially projected, and it's about a decade overdue.
Was there ever a moment where you thought, man, I just don't know if this is going to happen?
There were numerous existential crises, both technical and programmatic, through the life of the mission, but I guess we're all eternal optimists, and we persevered and made it happen.
We'll be back with this morning's 4-state hero right after this.
It's time to honor today Hospital Corpsman Virgil Crowder in the U.S. Navy. The Wyandotte, Oklahoma native joined the 1st Battalion, 1st Regiment, 1st Marine Delta Company in 1969. He fought in Vietnam, earning the Combat Action Ribbon. Crowder also earned the Vietnam Campaign Medal with Device and the National Defense Service Medal. To Virgil Crowder, we thank you, our 4-state hero. The Miami Public Library celebrated a big milestone on Saturday, its 100th birthday. And to celebrate, the library hosted its annual book sale, in addition to a birthday party for the entire community. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has how the library hopes to continue to enrich the town with books and knowledge in the next 100 years.
Hopefully the building and everything will still be here and grow even more in the next 100 years.
The Miami Public Library is celebrating 100 years of bringing books into the community, but its history actually goes back much farther.
They existed a little longer than that, but the first building, the first actual library building, opened in November of 1921, and it was a Carnegie building, and it was the last Carnegie grant funds in Oklahoma.
Marcia Johnson, director of the Miami Public Library, says the library has a long and rich history, so they wanted to make sure it turned 100 in style.
We're having some musicians, Dr. Paul Furmeister on cello and Tammy Wilcox on the harp. They're going to entertain us for a while. We're going to have a birthday cake, and there's going to be a children's program upstairs. So we have a lot of cool stuff going on.
The birthday party and book sale brought people in from all over Miami, including the Edens.
I mean, it's always been here. I've always seen it when I drive by, and 100 years is pretty crazy, I feel like, for anything really, especially around here.
Haley Eden, who's lived here her whole life, says it's impressive to see something stick around in her town for this long.
In this town for 100 years and that it's still running. You don't see things stay for that long anymore.
She adds that it's nice to still be able to return to a place that holds childhood memories.
My mom was a big reader and she was a stay-at-home mom, so she would bring me weekly. We'd just pick out books and do things on the computers together and just have a good time.
And even after 100 years, the library continues to make an impact.
I definitely think it enriches the community.
In Miami, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
The library hopes to have another book sale sometime next spring. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Austria imposes a national lockdown due to the recent surge in COVID and the number of unvaccinated. And you may or may not know about rugby, but there's a push to grow the sport, particularly at HBCUs and with women. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
4 States' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:29. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Prosecutors charge a Mcdonald County woman with murdering her husband. Investigators say Don Wynn is charged with second-degree murder and armed criminal action. They say on Tuesday, deputies responded to a home on Pleasant Grove Road west of Anderson. When they arrived, they found Wynn's husband, Harold Lee Wynn, dead from a gunshot wound to the head. Authorities arrested Wynn at the scene. A jury returns a guilty verdict for a Cherokee County man accused of attempted first-degree murder. 38-year-old Brian Waterman is now awaiting sentencing on that charge and additional charges of aggravated kidnapping and aggravated burglary. It took the jury less than 2 hours to return the guilty verdicts. The charges stem from a 2016 incident in which Waterman broke into a Baxter Springs home, stabbed a man, and doused him with bleach. The USBI has identified 2 people found dead in Grove, Oklahoma. They are 68-year-old Deborah Jo Van Ostrand and 69-year-old William Harrigan Rambo II. The 2 were found dead in a Grove home on Diller Drive back on November 9th. The USBI says they're investigating the deaths as suspicious. Cecil Floyd PTA held its 30th annual craft fair on Saturday. For 30 years, the PTA has held the show to help raise money for the school. There were 125 vendors on hand for the craft fair with a variety of items available. Nearly every classroom was packed to capacity as more than 1,000 people came to shop around.
It's a big job, but it's one of those that it's very rewarding to know that we're keeping it going, and we're keeping some of our veterans vendors that come back for decades. They're still here with us. Our customers that have been bringing generations of family. It's wonderful, and in return, we're giving it back to the school, to our kids. So it's a great reward.
To help raise money for the school, vendors are charged a booth fee, and there is a $3 admission. Gillette says in the past they've managed to bring in upwards of $20,000 for Cecil Floyd. Pittsburgh Police and Fire Friday joined forces for their annual Badges and Burgers event. The heroes doing some work on the grill. For $5, folks could get a burger or cheeseburger, chips, and bottled water.
This is certainly an event that's going to help the community, but it's also a good cooperative effort between the police and the fire department. Anytime we get a chance to work together, that's a good opportunity. I will say that Chief Nargis from the police department has really kind of shepherded this program because he's been around for a long time.
Proceeds benefit the Children's Advocacy Center. Well, some Mcdonald County High School students Friday were inducted into JAG. Now, JAG stands for Jobs for America's Graduates. It's a program designed to make sure students are ready for their next steps after high school, whether that's college, military service, or entering the workforce. Friday, the school hosted an initiation and induction ceremony to swear in all of the new members.
They're able to know and understand how important that this is, and that they'll be able to be a good example and to show that the JAG program is like a really big thing and that it stands for a lot.
Nationally, JAG serves more than 76,000 students in 39 states. Well, a new business in downtown Pittsburgh is full of history. The White Elephant Emporium offers vintage home decor items. Stephanie Watts and Danielle Beitzinger opened the store in a warehouse that was built in the mid-1800s and passed down through Watts' family. Now the store is refurbished and ready for business.
And I think the ultimate compliment to me was I asked my dad if my grandmother would be thrilled, and you know, she's long gone, but yeah, she would be super excited about this for us.
We've put a lot of sweat equity and worked really hard.
The store is open every Saturday until Christmas. LaCat made a news host smile and his guest during a political show on Georgian television on Thursday. Okay, check this out. The feline name Katusa jumped onto the desk when both men were discussing the state of Georgian politics and then started to clean itself, completely ignoring the host and the politician. Oh man.
Can I bring my puppy from the back porch on air? She's always there to greet me.
Why do they have a cat in the studio? Just slipped in?
Okay, I won't bring my dog.
No.
Why not?
does. That dog likes to jump on our clothes.
I know. I'm culprit number one.
Yes.
I'd let her do it. It'd be great television.
Mm-hmm.
Great live television are puppies jumping on people, not cats that ignore people. We'd have great fun. And if I stopped petting her to say, let's take a live look outside of Television City and transition to 7th and Rangeline, she'd be like, woof, Michael, woof, woof, pet me, play with me. I'm gonna bring Shisa and Louie in here too. I'm gonna have a menagerie by the time it's all said and done. 31 degrees right now in Joplin. It is a chilly one out there, and mostly below the freezing mark. Now we're starting to see at least Neosho and Anderson get above 32. Cassville and Miami right there, but a whole bunch of 26s ranging through southeast Kansas. Not a big difference between temperature and wind chill wise, but we only have a couple 30s that are even on the board as far as what it feels like, and compare that to at this point in time on Sunday, 20-degree difference from what it was like when you walked out your door Sunday at 7:35. Cloud cover beginning to split right along the state line with high pressure behind us that's going to result in a whole bunch of sunshine. Take all that rain, just let it ride the old East Coast right there. That's where all the low pressure is. We've got a whole bunch of H's, and we love that because we can finally get a little bit of a warm up. As a matter of fact, make it up into the mid-50s today. Quite seasonable for this time of year. Tuesday, very similar in nature. Wednesday, cloud. Wednesday afternoon and evening. Here comes some light rain to begin with. Shouldn't affect travel at all. Carry that with the hardest rain into early Thursday morning. Couple rumbles of thunder, perhaps even a lightning strike. But everything done by the time we get to a decent hour post sunrise and pushing off to the southeast. Don't think anything of that will even have a chance to flip over. And even if let's pretend it does. Our ground's too warm to have anything stick. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, we're talking exercise, specifically running and specifically running marathons, because Brad and Marla Roden of Topeka, Kansas have run a marathon in all 50 states. In fact, they say between the two of them, they have completed 100 of them together. Our question to you this morning, what is your choice of exercise? Right now, 61% of you say, let's just stick with the walking. 5% of you do enjoy running, 12% biking, and coming in second actually behind walking is other. Two ways to connect via our Facebook page or go directly to the poll, koamnewsnow.com/vote. A national lockdown goes into force today in Austria. That's where authorities are struggling to contain a surge of COVID-19 infections. The chancellor blames the country's unvaccinated for the crisis and plans to make immunizations mandatory for all eligible people. The plan's not going over very well with many Austrians. Selma Abdelaziz, she has the latest from Vienna.
Restrictions met with resistance on the streets of Vienna. COVID cases are on the rise, and so is public anger. An estimated 40,000 people attended this anti-government demonstration.
We will resist. We will resist. We say no to that.
We all have to choose what to do with our body. All of us.
Nearly 1 in 3 Austrians are unvaccinated. Authorities blame fake news and far-right politics for the slow uptake.
And I don't know if something like this is necessary in Austria and in Europe.
The people are being treated like children. They are not allowed to make their own decisions.
As night fell, tensions rose. Several were arrested and 2 police officers injured. But at Austria's largest vaccination center, we find restrictions are quietly working. Rules targeting the unvaccinated have forced some to come forward. Up to 20% here are getting their first shot, officials said. Yaroslav is among the reluctant. I gave in to the government's blackmail, he said. I wanted to wait, but the government had other plans for me.
The government here is fed up with the unvaccinated. Austria plans to be the first country in Europe to mandate all eligible persons to be immunized, and the deadline is soon, February 1st.
Expert Peter Klimek says it's time for desperate measures.
Will this vaccine mandate work?
What we believe is that
with its mandatory vaccinations, and if this is executed properly, then at least we should be able to avoid triage situations in the hospitals.
Thank you for your visit and have a safe trip home.
For now, Vienna's beloved Christmas markets must close. A nationwide lockdown could last up to 20 days. And even when restrictions are lifted, rules will remain in place for the unvaccinated. The government's message, holiday joy, is for the immunized. Salma Abdulaziz, CNN, Vienna.
We'll be back with Consumer Watch right after this.
Amazon may drop a major credit card partner while an ongoing payment dispute continues. The online e-commerce retailer says it may discontinue Visa as a co-branded card partner because of a disagreement about how much Visa charges for its use of its card. In October, Visa started charging 1.5% of the transaction value for credit card payments made online or over the phone between the UK and European Union, and 1.15% for debit card transactions. Amazon said it would stop taking payments from Visa credit cards in the UK starting next January 19th. Visa declined to comment on the co-branded card issues. The nation's largest nursing home association is warning of negative impacts for the elderly hidden in the Biden administration's Build Back Better plan. American Healthcare Association and National Center for Assisted Living say some provisions in the social spending plan could cause facility closures or limit acceptance of elderly into those facilities. The bill would require the nursing home industry to increase staffing by 25% with RNs, licensed practical nurses, and certified nursing assistants, and increase the number of RNs on staff at least 8 hours a day. Association says the industry has lost 221,000 jobs since the start of the pandemic, and new hire requirements would cost more than $11 billion a year. This week, Americans will take to the skies and roadways in numbers not seen since before the COVID-19 pandemic. As Elise Preston reports, an estimated 53 million Americans are expected to travel over the Thanksgiving holiday.
Starting today, TSA workers are required to be vaccinated. The mandate comes as bustling airports across the country are seeing a boost in travelers and long lines.
It's been a couple years, honestly. Yeah, so that's why we're kind of excited since our first vacation ever since all this pandemic.
An estimated 2 million people a day are passing through TSA checkpoints this holiday week, with Tuesday expected to be the most traveled day in airports.
I'm glad I can travel home, but it's definitely kind of scary. You know, I'm not sure if I'm, being exposed to anything at school, so I got a COVID test before I came home to make sure I was safe.
Some traffic has been hectic and chaotic. Saturday, passengers and workers at Atlanta's Hartsfield Airport got quite the scare when police say a gun discharged during a bag search.
We're fortunate that when the firearm went off, nobody was seriously injured.
On the roadways, gas prices are the highest drivers have seen since 2014.
Once we saw the gas prices rising, no more decision was needed to be made. It was way too expensive to drive where we wanted to drive.
But despite the expense, AAA says more than 48 million Americans will journey by car to their Thanksgiving feast with family and friends. Congestion that could bring back a little pre-pandemic holiday nostalgia. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Holiday travel boom comes as health experts warn of rising COVID cases in several states. An estimated 62 million Americans eligible for vaccination have not received a shot. United Parcel Service is giving the boot to the supply chain worries by giving its new hires a boot camp to help speed their holiday service. UPS says it's ready to meet the holiday onslaught of gifts and other parcels by hiring 12,000 delivery drivers. All UPS drivers will get a week-long intensive boot camp training at one of 10 facilities. The training is designed to learn the routine, handle safety and obstacles like slippery floors or sidewalks, and timing, such as making a delivery in 90 seconds. UPS says about 20% of candidates make it through the boot camp, and some drivers can have up to 200 stops a day during the holidays. About 30% of seasonal workers transition to full-time. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Rugby is gaining popularity in the Mid-Atlantic, and now several groups want to grow a sport at a historically black college. Skylar Henry introduces us to a Howard University sophomore who's been playing rugby since high school and forged a team so she and others could continue it in college.
Several times a week, these young women from Howard University hit the pitch, perfecting their technique and form.
I love the physicality of rugby. I like to go for the ball, I like to be intense, and rugby is a sport that celebrates all that intensity.
Captain and founder Takunda Rusike wants to elevate her intramural team to a sanctioned NCAA program.
And what would that mean? Does that mean more funding?
Pretty much anything that we have, it's like we've gotten from outside sources. Our hopes are as time goes on and we get more rapport that we would be able to use some more university resources. Go!
The 19-year-old's push is backed by groups looking to bolster rugby in and around Washington, D.C., especially among historically black colleges and universities.
There's about 900 rugby clubs at colleges around the USA, and there's only 2 at HBCUs.
Howard alumna Kirill Guthrie now lives in Sri Lanka, contracting with the State Department. She uses her love of rugby as an icebreaker in her travels after years of playing herself. Guthrie created a foundation to get these teams up and running.
Help them pay their registration dues, field fees, referee fees, and any kind of monetary needs that they need, so they don't have to focus on fundraising as well as playing.
With momentum at every turn, recruiting athletes was easy.
I would say right now we have a solid 25 to 30.
And Rusike wants even the littlest athletes to take notice.
I hope that other black little girls who play rugby know that there's a spot for them at Howard.
Their goal is to keep winning, both on the field and off. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Officials at Howard University confident before it's only a matter of time that both the men and women's rugby team become varsity sports. They're going to have a hard time doing a whole lot of practicing today up in the D.C. area because of the amount of rain that they got. Not a problem for us, however. Blue skies, cool temperatures, 31 degrees as we stand at 7 minutes until the top of the hour. 28 right now in Pittsburgh, 34 in Neosho, 27 in Chanute, 32 in Miami. Not a whole lot of difference, but at least we're starting to see some 30s creep in when we talk about our wind chills. We did get as low as 22 degrees earlier, and a 24-hour temperature change, about a 20-degree difference from what we were on Sunday morning. Cloud cover just about done throughout portions of southwest Missouri and a little bit of northeast Oklahoma. We've still got it lingering there in southeast Kansas, but eventually we'll get all the high pressure behind us and give us some blue sky. There you go. There's where Howard University is located. And like I said, they're going to get a whole lot of rain that comes from the Gulf up the Mid-Atlantic and tracks almost all the way to the Canadian border. Here's what we'll be the recipient of. All the big H's. That's going to clear out our clouds and eventually warm us up into the 50s, so not too bad of an afternoon at all. Let's talk about travel plans. If you have them, headed to Grandma's house for the holiday. Wednesday we get a little cloud cover, but really don't pick up Wednesday rain until the evening. It's going to be very, very light right there. The hardest rain doesn't formulate until early Thursday morning, so hopefully not a lot of you don't have to be on the road at that hour. And then we push it off, should be done with it there by the time we get into early Thursday afternoon. Now, Thanksgiving is going to be a little bit chilly, high around 46 degrees. But any traveling you'd like to do after that, whether it be for Black Friday or whether it be for the weekend, it'll be absolutely four-state perfect. We'll be back and wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. A holiday parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin turned deadly when an SUV driver plowed through the crowd. Police chief said multiple people were killed and more than 40 others injured. Police have taken a person of interest into custody. The FBI is also providing assistance to local authorities in the investigation. Millions of Americans are bracing for long lines, full flights, and packed airports in what's expected to be the biggest holiday travel period since the start of the pandemic. TSA employees are required to be vaccinated as of today. Agency says most workers are complying. But by the weekend, its latest numbers indicated 40% still had not received a vaccine. A new CBS News poll shows 44% of those polled approve of President Biden's performance. That's his lowest ranking since he took office. One factor taking a toll on his approval numbers, rising inflation, which is up more than 6% this year. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Eventually end up in the mid-50s with plenty of sunshine and not too windy today. That changes, however, as we get into Tuesday. Going to shift, come out of the south. That actually warms us up into the 60s there for the next several days. But then we've got an additional cold front Wednesday night into Thursday, bringing us some Thanksgiving morning rain.
Well, the longest partial lunar eclipse in nearly 600 years, according to NASA, took place last week. The blood moon was one of the last astronomical events of 2021. It's known as an almost total lunar eclipse, where the natural satellite is covered by a shadow and up to 99.1%. Additionally, the moon turned red due to a phenomenon where the only sunlight reaching it passed through the Earth's atmosphere. And according to NASA, the last one took place in February 18th of 1440. Wow.
All right, thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
Captivating